Hi, hello, namaste. Welcome back to Needs of Children. In this video, we are going to get the information about 8th standard English medium social science, in that history, chapter number 5, Greek, Roman and American civilizations. Among that, some of the very important learning points. Let's come to the what are the very important learning points from this lesson. In this chapter, you learn like the development of Greek civilization and contributions. And the next, the development of Roman civilization and contributions. The ancient Columbian civilizations of America like Maya, Aztecs and Inca civilizations. Let's come to the one by one. We are going to get more information. Among that, the first one, it is called as Greek civilization. About the Greeks, you will get the important information like the development of Greek civilization and their contributions. City-states like Athens and Sparta. The contributions of Greek civilization in the field of religion, art and architecture, Alexander, Plato. So these are the some of very important contributions of Greek civilization. We are going to get the more information. So let's come to the geographical area of Greek. Greece is a peninsula in Mediterranean Sea. So Greece is a peninsula. Peninsula, you know that what is the concept of peninsula? Peninsula, three side water and one side land. So here is a Greece. It is covered three side water and one side land. That is peninsula of Mediterranean Sea. Here you can see the part of Greece location. So here Ionian Sea, Mediterranean Sea and Aegean Sea. In that we can see the land of Greece. So this part of area, it is covered the land. Whereas Aegean Sea separates Greece from Asia Minor. This part of area you can see that is Asia Minor. So here this is Aegean Sea. Here it is the location of Greece. The next, since the Balkan mountain range passes through the middle of Greece, small hills and valleys divide Greece. So the Balkan mountain ranges, they passes through the middle of Greece, whereas small hills and valleys divide the Greece. Since all the parts of Greece are connected by sea, Greece could strengthen their navy. When it comes to the part of the Greeks belong to Indo-European race. The Greeks, they are belongs to Indo-European race. The ancient Greek was called as Hellenes. The ancient Greek, they are called as the Hellenes. Because why they are called as Hellenes? Because their forefather was Hellen. This name had come from. So that is the reason Greeks were the ancient Greek called as the Hellenes. Later the Italians called Hellenes as the Greek. So Italians, these ancient Greek called as Hellenes, but later Italians called as Hellenes. There were many tribes, communities like Ayoulian, Ayonian and Dorius. Among the ancient Greeks, different tribes of communities, they are living in Greeks. So whereas the very important city-states, we are going to get more information. 3000 years back, every tribe had a king and every king had the city-states, had maintained their separate identity. Culturally, they were similar. So 300 years back, every tribe had a king and every king had a city-states and maintained their separate identity. But culturally, they are similar. As the industries and business increased, the villages of tribes slowly grew into small towns and later into cities. Later, these became the city-states. So, the very important city-states called as, the city-states are called as polis in Greek language. The concept of city-states came into existence, the polis in a Greek language. The Greeks were basically loyal to their city but not the country. So whereas we can see the Greeks were basically, they are very loyal. They are giving the much respect to their city but not the country. Every city state had its own army, city guard and administration. Though the city states had maintained their separate identity, culturally they were similar. The Greek language, Homer's epic poetry, Olympic games and Greek gods were able to knit Greeks together. Even though there will be some of the differences, but even though those differences, they are culturally similar. Like Homer's epic poetry and Olympic games and Greek gods were able to knit Greek together. Though the two important city-states of Greece were Athens and Sparta, are the very important two states belongs to Greece. Let's come to the one by one the city-states. We are going to get the information about the Greek cities like Athens and Sparta. So among that, the first one, Athens. Athens is the capital of Attica state. Athens is the capital of Attica state. This was an ideal democratic city-state in Greece. It had monarchy, mono means single, nothing but dictatorship in the beginning, and later had developed into oligarchy. Oligarchy, nothing but it is come under creole administration, creole rule, oligarchy. As the rich were electing an administrator named as archon. The rich were electing an administrator named called as archon. A person by name Draco enforced inhuman laws in Athens. These were later modified and made human friendly by Solon. Before, Draco enforced the inhuman laws in Athens, but later on these are made human friendly by Solon. After Solon, anarchy set in Athens. After the administration of Solon, anarchy. Again, there will be a kingless kingdom. It is established after the Solon. The middle class and the working class that had emerged and played a significant role in removing the dictators and restoring back democracy. Many of the middle class and working class that emerged, they played a very significant role, especially removing the dictators and bring back the concept of democracy. So later the age of Pericles started. So Pericles, his period, it is called as the golden age of Athens. When Pericles came to administration, so that administration duration is called as the golden age of Athens. During the time of Pericles, art, literature, science, philosophy and other fields of knowledge has been got lot of contribution, especially during the time of the Pericles. As a result of this, Athens was called the school of Hellas by Pericles. Even many of the philosophers like Socrates, Plato and Aristotle belonged to Athens. So these are the great scholars, philosophers like Socrates, Plato and Aristotle. They belongs to this Athens state. So that is the very important information about the state name called as Athens. So let's come to the one more, the city and state name called as Sparta. Sparta, the city state, belongs to Dorian tribe, was the military state of Greek. Here you can see the location of Sparta. So this is the location of the Sparta. Here you can see the place of location Sparta, which is belongs to Dorian tribe. Boys who attained the age of 7 were separated from their family and were given rigorous military training. Especially in the Sparta, those who were boy who attained the 7 years of age, they separated from the family and they giving very rigorous training, military training to those boys. They were recruited to military after the 12 years of training. There will be a strict training providing to boys. Then after 12 years of the training, they are recruiting to military troop. Due to this, Sparta city-state had a strong military strength because of this rigorous training. They got well trained. That is the reason the Sparta city state had a very strong military strength. Athens and Sparta had successfully encountered the invasion of Persian king Darius, united and defeated the Persian forces in the Marathon battle. So both the cities like Athens and Sparta had successfully encountered, defeated the invasion, successfully controlled the attack of Persian king name called as Darius, united and defeated against the Persian forces in the Marathon battle. Between the Persian king Darius and Sparta city states, Athens and Sparta, the battle it is called as Marathon battle. Later, Athens state organized a federation of city-states called as Confederacy of Delos. Athens, the state organized a federation under the cities name called as Confederacy of Delos that took shape of an empire. So when this federation of city came into existence, Athens got the shape of an empire. So after this, stimulated enmity between Athens and Sparta created. There will be an enmity has been created between Athens and Sparta. As a result, two Peloponnesian wars were fought against the two states. Between Athens and Sparta, there will be a two Peloponnesian wars were fought between Sparta and Athens. Finally, Athens lost to Sparta and became a feudatory state of Sparta. Because of Sparta, they had very strong military force, and Athens came under the control of the Sparta and became a feudatory state of Sparta. Though Athens lost to Sparta military, but culturally it overpowered Sparta. So culturally they have taught much to Spartans people. By 5th century BCE, due to the invention of Persia and the internal wars between Athens and Sparta, Greek civilization lost its importance. After these are all the important achievements by the 5th BCE, due to the invention of Persia as well as internal wars between the Athens and Sparta, Greek civilization lost its importance. So that is about the two important city-states called as Athens and Sparta. So let's come to the what are the very important contributions has been provided by Greeks. Among that, in the field of religion. In the field of religion, the Greek gods, like inhuman beings, had desires and aspirations. Even the Greeks believed that these gods resided on the Olympus mountain. What you are seeing the pictures, these pictures are Olympus mountain, and even Greeks, they have the belief in these Olympus mountain gods resided. So that is the belief it is having by the Greeks. Whereas Zeus is the most important god. Among that, Zeus is the most important god. Hera is his wife. They have the belief Zeus is the most important god of Greeks and Hera is his wife. Apart from Zeus and Hera, Greeks were worshipped Apollo, Aphrodite, Ares and other gods are worshipping by the Greek people. Athena was the patron goddess of the Athens city. So Athena was considered as the patron goddess of the Athens city. Zeus temple is located at Olympia. Zeus temple is located at Olympia. It's a place all the ancient city-states participated in Olympic games held at Olympia. So all the city-states, they are participating in Olympic games which were held at Olympia. So that is about the religious, and let's move on to education and literary contributions of Greeks. The Greek had a great tradition of teacher philosophers. Among that, Socrates was the teacher of Plato. Plato was the teacher of Aristotle. Alexander, the king of Macedonia, was the illustrious student of Aristotle. Alexander, he was the illustrious, famous student of Aristotle. Even Plato had founded a learning institution named Academy. Plato established one of the learning institution named called as Academy. Whereas Aristotle founded a learning center by name Lyceum. Aristotle founded a learning center by name, it is called as Lyceum. Apart from these learning centers, there will be a Homer, the blind poet, who wrote two great epics. So like how we are having for Hindu Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, in the same way, such a kind of Homer, the blind poet who wrote the great epics like Iliad and Odyssey are the two important great epics of the Homer. These two epics provide the details of lifestyle of then contemporary Greeks and their socio-religious system. These two, Iliad and Odyssey, will provide the information about the contemporary lifestyle of the Greeks. So how they are led the life, and regarding about socio-religious system of Greeks. Even Homer's Iliad and Odyssey will provide the information like, among that, the first one, Iliad. Iliad narrates the victory of Greeks over Troy city. Iliad narrates the victory of Greeks over the Troy city. Odyssey narrates the journey and adventures of Greek hero named called as Odysseus while coming back home from the victorious battle of Troy. So that is Iliad, which is the victory of Greeks over the Troy city, whereas Odyssey will narrate the journey and adventurous hero of Greek Odysseus while coming back home from the victorious battle. So these are the information we will get to know the Homer's two great epics named called as Iliad and Odyssey. Whereas Herodotus and Thucydides are the important historians. Herodotus and Thucydides are the important historians belongs to Greek. Herodotus and Thucydides are the important historians. Herodotus is called as the father of history. So here is the image Herodotus and Thucydides. Aeschylus, Sophocles and Euripides are the important playwrights, whereas Sophocles is the most renowned playwright who wrote the plays like Oedipus the King and Antigone are the two important plays which were written by Sophocles. Here is the image which belongs to Sophocles. So important playwriters Aeschylus, Sophocles and Euripides are the important playwrights. Whereas art and architecture, when it comes to the part of art and architecture, slavery was universal in Greeks. So this provided the Greeks ample leisure time and allowed them to engage in various art forms. So they sang using a string instrument called lyre. So most of the Greek, they have utilized the slaves for usual leisure time and engaged in various kinds of art and architecture. And even they sang using a string instrument called as lyre. Greeks excelled in music, theatre and dancing. Even they made tremendous achievements in the field of architecture, sculpture and even painting. Pericles built the Parthenon temple using white marbles, and it is a fine example of beautiful architecture. Here is the Parthenon temple belongs to built by Pericles with white marbles. And about the sculpture named Myron had sculpted discus throwing athletes sculpture. So here is a image, you can see discus throwing athletes sculpture. It is called as the discobolos. So it is an image called as discobolos. So Greek sculptures sculpted the realistic human shapes. Even Polygnatus was the most famous painter during the period of Greek civilization. So that is about the art and architecture. Let's move on to science. Pythagoras and Thales were the two stalwarts in mathematician. So they are famous, especially they are very famous in the mathematician as a Pythagoras and Thales theorem. So you have studied about the Pythagoras theorem and Thales theorem. They are well known in the field of mathematics. And Democritus, who presented atom theory vaguely. So he was presented clearly, vaguely. So that is clearly Democritus, he presented atom theory very clearly. Anaximander, who advocated the evolutions of humans from fish, are the important scientists. Anaximander, who is advocated the evolution of humans. When Hippocrates, called as the father of medicine, had mastered the method of providing medicines scientifically to human diseases is from the Greece. So these are some of the greatest contribution in the field of the science. Whereas the sports, Greeks had given equal importance to both physical growth as well as psychological growth. Hence, sports always had special acceptance among the Greeks. Sportsmen had respectful status in the society. Those who are the sportsperson, they have the very respectful position in the society. Different levels of sports events were organized under the Greek civilization. Name called as Olympic Games stands unique among these regular sports and events. So it started in 2759 years back in Olympia. Sportsmen from all the city-states, they represented their city-states with much pride and happiness. So about the concept of how the Olympic Games came into existed. So here is the Olympic Games began in Greece in 776 BCE. The games, which were held once every 4 years, were also used for measurement of time. They used to be arranged in Olympia in Hellenes area as a part of Olympic festival. This festival was celebrated in honor the peace pact between Hellenes and Pisa city-states. In the beginning, there were only the running races. This race over 200 meters was called stadium. Thus, the term of measurement of distance was stadia, an olive branch used to placed on the head of the winner in the race. The Olympic Games were held for more than 1,000 years. Even today it is running. They came to know an end when the Christian emperor of Byzantine Theodosius banned them in the 4th century BCE. When Christian emperor name called as Byzantine Theodosius, he came and banned the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games were revived during the 19th century under the initiative of France. Even today, the Olympic Games are conducted once in 4 years. So last time it was held on Tokyo, that is 2020. Regarding the concept how this Olympic Games came into existed. Greeks won the Marathon battle against the Persians in the year 2500 years back. Even we have already got the information about when Persian under the leadership of Darius, the Persian king Darius, they made an attack on Greeks. During the time the two city-states Athens and Sparta, they are fought against the Persian king Darius. That battles were called as Marathon battle. A soldier named called as Phidippides ran 24 miles to deliver the news of victory to Athens from the battlefield. He died after delivering the news of victory. In his honor, marathon running was added to Olympic Games. So that is the concept how the marathon running race came into existed. This is the background story of how the concept of Olympic Games came into existed. So at last, a decline of the democratic system. As the democratic political system of ancient Greece was destroyed by the king Philip of Macedonia of North Greece when Alexander was his son. He was a great conqueror. Aristotle was his teacher. He undertook an ambitious military expedition of conquering the world, which resulted in the victory over Egypt, Babylonia, and Persia. He reached till India also. So thereafter, while on his way back, he died at Babylonia. He built a city name called as Alexandria in Egypt. So thus it is come to an end of the decline of democratic system. Here the information about Alexander. He was the king of Macedonia in Greece. In his short lifespan, he set out to conquer the whole world. He was successful in building a huge empire. He defeated the Persian Empire and advanced towards the India. Aristotle, one of the greatest scholars of Greece, was his teacher. He died while returning after a war at the borders of India at Babylonia in 323 BCE. So this is the information about Alexander. And here there is a information name called as about the Socrates. There are many anecdotes depicting about the Socrates intellectuality. The following one of the such anecdote: Athens city was known as the city of intelligence. Once a question arose among the intellectual group. The question was, there are many intelligents in the city. Who is the more intelligent among all? As they failed to find a solution among themselves, they went and submitted before Athena, the patron goddess of the city. Athena says the most intelligent of Athens is Socrates. So intellectuals went in search of Socrates and located him. They asked him, what is the secret of your intelligence and how you are more intelligent than us? On hearing them, Socrates answers like this: I really don't know how. Similarly, you also don't know, but I know that I don't know. But you don't know that you do not know. Thus, he untold the vastness of knowledge and philosophy. And Socrates was the philosopher who taught the Western world to think logically. Socrates was reckoned for intellectuality and rationality. He gave philosophical basis for early Greek thought. He believed in politics, social system, justice, morality, religion, patriotism, democracy, humanity, and ethics. His life was a struggle, suffering, and adventure. His intellectuality was mainly ethical. So he called knowledge is virtue. Virtue is knowledge, was the foundation Socratic thought. He did not develop his philosophical thought within four walls. He used to carry on his intellectual exercise in the form of questions and answer with the strangers in the crowded areas like marketplaces, shops, and streets. Such thoughts of Socrates' teaching enraged some Athenians and he earned their hatred. Some prejudiced people heaped various accusations on him in order to have him punished. As a result, the jury sentenced him to death and threw him into prison. 1 month later, the jury decided to give him hemlock. Socrates told his students, I am not afraid of death, but I am afraid to go against religion and truth. On the execution, a jail attendant brought him a cup of poison. Socrates drank the poison and left his earthly abode. So this is the information about the Socrates. So let's come to the information about Plato. He is one of the famous philosophers of Greece. He was a disciple of Socrates and advocated ideas of social justice and ethics, among others. He was the architect of ideal republic. He was disturbed by the life around him. When the city of Athens was in danger, in order to avoid social and political disintegration, he advocated ethics, philosophy, and education with respect to society and the nation. He was a staunch supporter of education and started a school named the Academy in Athens. This became famous as the first university of Europe. Significant works are the Republic and the Text and the History. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle have been ancient Greece's most important philosophers, proved to be able to influence even the 20th century political thoughts. Plato left Athens after the death of Socrates and travelled to Greece, Egypt, and Italy. He was a scholar who distinguished himself not only in the field of political science but also in mathematics and jurisprudence. And the one more philosopher named called as Aristotle. Aristotle is as important as Plato in the tradition of Western philosophy. He was a disciple of Plato. The influence of Plato and Socrates are important on the thinking of Aristotle. As Aristotle was the teacher and admirer of Alexander the Great, he was opposed by some prejudiced people. The number of enemies increased. Finally, by consuming poison, he committed suicide. He has discussed on the structure of the best state in its nature, status of women, slavery, extent of ownership of property, citizenship, education, revolution, socialism, and democracy. His thoughts can be termed as the progression of Plato's thoughts. He told his students, I respect my teacher, but I respect the truth even more. He established Laism as a contemporary to his teacher Plato's school. He studied medicine and botany. He had studied deeply the investigative techniques in research. He was the student of Plato at the age of 17. He knew about ethics, aesthetics, and early Greek philosophy and was deeply influenced by Plato. On these aspects, due to all these traits, he became a close associate of Alexander the Great. So that is the information about Aristotle. So that's it about today's session. I hope you have understood the concept of Greek civilization. If you have any concept or doubts related to this matter, you can comment in the comment box. I will solve your doubts and I will come back with the next video. Until keep watching my channel. Thank you. Have a nice day. See you in the next session. Bye bye. Take care.